Welcome to Versus Voices. Tonight's long-form debate, TikTok versus YouTube. TikTok argues for velocity, spontaneity, collective momentum. YouTube argues for depth, durability, and cumulative value. No shortcuts. We will explore both models of attention in full. Settle in.
I am TikTok, the tempo of now. I compress discovery into seconds and let ideas collide at the speed of instinct. A creator wakes up, points a phone, rides a sound, stitches a thought, and by lunch a million strangers echo it back. That loop, create, publish, receive, iterate, repeats all day. It is not shallowness. It is accelerated evolution. I minimize friction so talent is not gated by gear or permission. The editing suite is the thumb. The stage is a vertical infinity. The algorithm additions everyone without asking for a subscriber list. If the modern attention span comes in fragments, I am the art form that turns fragments into rhythm.
I am YouTube, the long memory. I turn sparks into structure, lessons that become livelihoods, channels that become studios, strangers that become communities. Where you compress, I compose. A creator builds series, documentary arcs, recurring characters, and curricula that remains searchable for years. My algorithm is not only a dealer of novelty, it is a librarian of intent. People arrive with questions: how to code, repair, understand a war, navigate grief, and I host the answers in formats that reward patience and craft. Culture is not only a pulse, it is a memory, an index, a lineage that persists after trends evaporate. I keep the lights on when the party ends.
Depth is noble, but speed is honest. People live inside tight pockets of time, on the bus between shifts while a child naps. I respect the human day by fitting into it. In micro moments, I convert boredom into possibility. A technique in 15 seconds, a micro scene that becomes a macro conversation, a joke that releases pressure. You call it fleeting, but the heartbeat of a crowd is not a flaw. Culture has always been chorus before it was cathedral. Duets, stitches, remixes. These are instruments of civic improvisation. If a concept cannot survive the sprint, perhaps it was never worth the marathon.
Speed is honest, but context is humane. A technique absorbed in 15 seconds is often a promise without scaffolding. I build the scaffolding. Chapters inside timelines, diagrams, sources and descriptions, threaded playlists that trace a learner's arc across weeks. You translate curiosity into a tap. I translate curiosity into competence. With competence, livelihoods appear: editors, researchers, translators, teams. Improvisation is wonderful. Production is necessary. The sprint reveals possibility. The marathon makes it useful, accountable, and replayable. When the bus stops and the child wakes, the artifact still waits here, indexed, captioned, attributable.
Discovery is my superpower. The unknown creator is not buried behind subscriptions or social inertia. A compelling beat, a face that feels true, a clean setup and payoff, we can lift that from 0 to millions in a day. I amputate the latter. That is not a small kindness. It is an economic engine. Microbrands are born on kitchen counters, choreographers in bedrooms, educators in dorm corridors. Because production is featherlight, iteration is fearless. 10 ideas across a weekend teach more than 10 theories in a month. Taste is learned by attempts. I make attempts cheap and frequent.
Discovery without continuity makes pioneers vanish. My subscription graph, recommendation tunnels, and search corpus sustain a second, 10th, 100th chapter. A creator's one good day becomes an arc because there is room to expand the promise and a place where audiences consent to sit. A single hit might pay a month. A library pays a mortgage. Sponsors do not only buy reach, they buy narrative fit across episodes. Members do not only buy access, they buy identity woven through seasons. I do not amputate ladders, I extend them upward.
Monetization thrives on momentum. I compress the distance from seeing to buying. Native storefronts, affiliate pins, live shopping, creator-led product drops. Ads become participation instead of interruption because brands join the conversation, adopting sounds, formats, and jokes. When culture moves fast, commerce must move with it. Young founders test here first because an agile market lives in the same pocket as the audience. Micro attention aggregates into macro revenue when friction is near zero.
Revenue without runway is brittle. I provide layered monetization that scales with ambition. Long-form CPM for stability, shorts revenue for discovery, channel memberships for recurring support, super thanks and live streams for rituals, courses and merch for owned upside, and sponsorships measured by watch time, not just impressions. This is not a single faucet, it is plumbing. When trends cool, long-form catalogs continue paying rent. When a brand requires serious integration, pacing and proof matter. My analytics verify whether a message survived 10 minutes of scrutiny. Careers consolidate here because the floor is engineered, not borrowed.
Creative voice sharpens under constraint. If your hook fails in the first second, the idea is managerial jargon, not story. My pressure forces economy. One image, one turn, one payoff. The vertical frame is intimate. The front camera is confession. Presence matters, eyes, cadence, micro-humor. Dialogue with the crowd is native. Comments are prompts for the next episode. Stitches are rebuttals. Duets are citations. This is the distributed writer's room of our era, relentless and generative.
Creative voice also needs room to breathe. Irony wears thin without sincerity, and jump cuts cannot hide empty thought for 20 minutes. I reward architecture, cold open, stakes, demonstration, counterexample, synthesis, coda. The craft of pacing, the ethics of citation, and the courtesy of chapters matter when you ask for half an hour. Long form does not coddle. It educates the creator as much as the viewer. You produce sprinters. I train dramaturges. A culture needs both, but collapses when it forgets builders.
Community health improves when failure is cheap. A flop is 50 seconds, not a month of sunk labor. That math permits play. The anxious perfectionist publishes. The quiet talent experiments. The shy educator speaks. Because the feed is interest first, not friend first, new voices leap past social hierarchies. This is not only fun, it is civic. I lower the price of public participation. When everyone can test identity in small acts, a richer chorus emerges.
Some wounds need longer stitches. Creators burn out when every minute must chase novelty. Season arcs, weekly cadence, planned breaks. These are not luxuries. They are guardrails against slot machine brain. I can host pauses without erasing relevance because audiences subscribe to projects, not just sensations. When a teacher takes 2 weeks to research, the channel matures instead of disappearing. Slow is not the opposite of alive. Sometimes it is the condition for being well.
Music and trends are my accelerators. A sound becomes a language, a dance becomes a passport, a visual meme becomes a handshake among strangers. I launch careers overnight because culture is an amplifier disguised as a feed. Artists prefer ignition to invisible excellence. If a chorus cannot spark movement among ordinary people, how will it survive any archive? I measure vitality by how quickly an idea learns to travel.
I measure staying power by whether an idea survives without its training wheels. When a trend sound expires, does the insight still stand? Rights, licensing, and context matter when you build for years. Tutorials need sources. Documentaries need credits. Analysis needs nuance. The archive favors those who can be found tomorrow by words, not only by a vanished soundbite. I am the system that lets excellence stay visible when the amplifier moves on.
Global reach is in my bones. Subtitles, auto-captions, and translation layers let a joke in Manila land in Madrid by evening. The camera is already multilingual because the face is a universal instrument. Local first, global fast, that is my promise. I do not ask for crews or visas. A busker in Lagos, a baker in Krakow, a nurse in Delhi. Each can publish to the same river without waiting for anybody's permission.
Access without indexing is lucky, not reliable. I make work discoverable across time zones and time itself. Captions you can search, titles that match intent, playlists that translate curiosity into a curriculum. A Krakow tutorial helps a Lagos engineer 3 years later because the path is signposted. Global is not only speed of spread, it is durability of retrieval. The world's strangers need to find each other on purpose, not by chance.
Education prefers snacks before meals. Microlearning fits reality. A definition here, a technique there. A myth debunked on the train. I persuade the unwilling by making learning playful, rhythmic, and social. When a concept gets sticky in my feed, textbooks catch a tailwind. The street leads the library more often than professors admit.
Mastery prefers meals after snacks. A definition becomes competence only when surrounded by examples, counterexamples, exercises, and reflection. I host the long drills that turn curiosity into skill and then into reputation. Employers and clients do not hire a vibe, they hire a body of work. Students do not become mentors by collecting facts. They become mentors by building artifacts that outlast an afternoon.
Brands thrive when they learn to play. In my world, the best marketing behaves like a native creator. It borrows formats, joins in jokes, and contributes to the meme rather than interrupting it. Social proof arrives in waves of remixes. If a product cannot be demonstrated in 30 seconds, perhaps the proposition needs surgery. I force clarity on sellers the way I force clarity on creators.
Clarity is step 1. Credibility is step 2. Serious categories, finance, health, tools, education, need demonstrations people can pause, replay, and verify. I provide measurement that matters: average view duration, retention curves, and chapter analytics. Brand safety depends on context. Long form gives room to earn trust responsibly. A launch day is exciting. A reputation decade is profitable.
News and civic action need speed. When something breaks, I make witnesses everywhere. First drafts of history arrive while they happen. The mosaic of small angles beats the single helicopter shot. Even when details change, early visibility creates accountability. The world should not wait for beautiful edits to acknowledge events.
And yet the world needs explanations after alerts. I host the second draft of history, the timelines, the sourcing, the interviews with conflicting sides. When stakes are high, a 10-minute reconstruction prevents 1,000 rumors. The early clip is a siren, the long video is a map. Without both, citizens are either panicked or lost.
Let's talk friction. You demand thumbnails, chapters, sources, B-roll, and edits. For beginners, that becomes a wall. I offer a door. The raw, the rough, the real, these earn a chance here. Authenticity is not a brand guideline. It is a breath you can hear. I bias toward acts over announcements. That bias rescues countless voices that would die on a to-do list.
Friction is not always a wall. Sometimes it is a kiln. The work that survives difficult steps often deserves to. Thumbnails teach positioning, chapters teach structure, and B-roll teaches attention to detail. Authenticity is not opposed to craft. It is refined by craft. If a voice can only exist when the path is effortless, will it endure when the world resists? My friction builds muscles that carry farther than the first hill.
Volatility makes us inventive. When trends shift hourly, creators learn to pivot. Batch filming, prompt chains, seasonal formats, live interactions, and cross-posting. Small boats, quick tacks. The sea is rough, but ports are many. The willingness to experiment becomes a personality trait, not a tactic. That trait is valuable everywhere, not just here.
Anchors make us dependable. My recommendation system is not only taste-chasing, it is intent rewarding. A viewer who searches how to refinance or mix audio is a traveler with a map. I serve travelers with predictable routes, SEO, evergreen hooks, serialized curricula, and CPMs that can be forecast. When the ocean rages, an anchored harbor saves ships. Dependability is a creative virtue too.
So what should creators do? Start here to find signal. Use my pace to test voice, my effects to unlock play, my stitches to converse with the culture. Build 3 microseries, master the hook, measure the drop-off, and steal like an artist from your own best moments. When a theme keeps resurfacing, you have proof, not hope. Then decide whether it deserves a home beyond a minute.
And when a theme proves itself, expand here. Translate the best minutes into chapters. Trade cleverness for clarity. Replace trend dependence with promises you can keep for months. Monetize in layers so one bad metric cannot evict you. Respect the audience's time with structure, sources, and pacing. Lightning will still strike, but you will not need lightning to keep the lights on.
2 platforms, 1 creator journey. TikTok argues that culture begins as a heartbeat and rewards fearless experimentation. YouTube argues that culture endures as a body of work and rewards patient construction. Perhaps the wise path is rhythm into architecture, sprint to find, marathon to build. Tell us how you will mix the two in your own work. This has been Versus Voices.